You know him, you've seen
Hey,
him.
Pat McManus here for Music Mondays, and we're glad you're all watching this today. And this week's song is called Loner. I wrote this song had several influences that helped me put it together. Some was from my misspent youth, and then some was from working with kids that had alcohol and drug problems that I worked with at a treatment center called Our Primary Purpose. And at our primary purpose, we'd see a lot of kids that, once they started using, they had loss of control. And when they lost control over how much they used, they also lost control over their behaviors. And a lot of times kids would do things that broke their own value system and, make them feel bad about themselves. And so they'd feel guiltier and guiltier all the time, the more that the behavior went on. And they felt powerless over one, the alcohol or the drugs, their drug of choice, but they also felt powerless over their own behavior. And oftentimes that ends up in a person feeling very alienated and very much alone, and and not feeling good about oneself. So our job at Our Primary Purpose was to uncover, those kinds of feelings, and then look at, how being sober or living a life free of alcohol and drugs can lead to a happier, more fulfilling life, and where a person can be re-empowered to be in control of their life. The song opens and it says, "You know him. Yeah, you've seen him. You've heard him. Yeah, you know him." Back in the day, it was a little bit, there was some more stigma related or embarrassment, and it was not as big a well-known issue back in the 80s when I first started working in the treatment center. But today, there's less stigma today than there was in the past. And people know that, young people, especially that are at higher risk or have alcohol or drug problems or mental health problems in their family, are at higher risk. And the song says, when he's happy and he's young, he was just looking for some fun. And no drug addict, no alcoholic thinks, oh boy, I'm going to start using and, have my life go to complete, difficulty and bad feelings about myself. But, it goes on to say it was a friend at the time. Now he's a prisoner of his mind. Once that person starts using, the increased tolerance kicks in. It takes more and more of the same drug or the alcohol to achieve the same high, and kids get more and more out of control and in trouble with themselves. So being at higher risk, definitely, not everyone that drinks or uses drugs is going to become an alcoholic or a drug addict or suffer from substance use disorder. But, those that are at higher risk, really, the level of suffering amongst those that do have a problem is pretty grave and difficult for them to turn that around. And oftentimes you need a spiritual experience or some major thing in their life to help them, one, face the problem, and two, learn how to recover. The song goes on to say, he's shooting for the sun, no strength to try and run. He's craving what he needs. His family cries and grieves. He's alone. The fentanyl problem has just become astronomical, where a lot of young people see, the increased tolerance for drugs. Sometimes they'll start using more and more, powerful drugs like, opioids and heroin and those kinds of things. And oftentimes the heroin today is laced with fentanyl. And fentanyl is just killing people, young people, to a super, epidemic proportion. I personally had people that I've known and cared about and loved that have died from fentanyl overdose. And, there's just no more pain that can be caused when you lose a family member to drug addiction or alcoholism. Substance use disorder, alcoholism, drug addiction, it causes family problems. There's so much trust that ends up getting broken because the alcohol or the drugs becomes the most important thing in that person's life. And their family relationships become less and less important. And the drug of choice is what they're really needing, and they put it above all else. The stigma of having a problem with alcohol and drugs and all the negative things that happen, there's a lot of embarrassment, there's a lot of fear, and really, people really react when you're empathetic with their problems. And so it's empathy and encouragement. Those things can really help propel a person into recovery. Um, Here's the song. It's called He's a Loner. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you next week.
He's alone.